So, I know a lot of us accountants are so dedicated to our profession, and we're so passionate about helping our clients. But, now is a time to take a step back and just look at what kind of skills are needed to help modernize our profession and make sure that we can continue delivering the quality services that are important for our clients. So this is not tomorrow. When I talk about bots, this is not the year 2030 where this is going to come. I'd love to share, examples on the ground today where companies are already using AI. They're using bots like ours to do mechanical accounting work. In fact, I woke up to, and some of you folks may have already seen the video from Elon Musk overnight, but this whole Neuralink company that he started. So, for those that are not familiar, they're starting to develop technology where you can implant a chip in your skull, and that chip's going to be able to operate computer programs and actually drive your Tesla for you. So this is in production now. Right now it's in pigs, but I think in a couple of years' time, you're going to see this type of technology in our hands. So that's happening in the mainstream. Because I'm such a strong advocate of the profession, I have been, really active, speaking to industry leaders and also doing webinars like these to make sure that CPAs are ready for this movement. And, this is being accelerated by COVID-19 right now. So I get a chance to, again, talk to industry leaders. One of them works for a $3 billion tech company here in New York. They're about to go public, and they're obviously cutting their budgets back because of the pandemic and COVID-19. So he made the comment to me and one of our potential investors that hiring more accountants is the last resort, right? So what does he mean by that? Like, it's not like he doesn't like accountants. He's a CPA himself, but because he's getting pressure to do more with less people, especially with the pandemic, but the headcount and the new hires that he had planned, that is now the last resort. The first option has to be technology and automation, and making sure that the team that he already has can do more work with. I'll talk about the different types of AI and process bot technology, but this whole world that we lived in before, where it was okay for us to enter data and encode in systems, that's changing. That's changing very rapidly in front of our eyes, and it's a global effort too. So I'll make sure to touch on that. Another factor going into this is VC, so venture capitalists, like people who want to invest in the next Facebook or the next Neuralink. They're pouring a lot of money into companies that want to create this type of automation. So someone, Lyndon mentioned it before, there's, great deal of investments being directed towards technology companies, right? Because this is the type of companies that are exciting and that can help, with the future of work. And that's why if you look at the stock market, the top tech companies are doing really well, even though I walk around New York here and every other business is closed. But the stock market is at an all-time high because of the tech companies that are able to evolve the whole business and also accounting profession. So I'm definitely going to take the tone that this is not like doom and gloom. This is not Skynet. You don't have to like go to your bunkers and hide and store food for 3 years. This is not Skynet at all. I'm calling this as an opportunity for us CPAs to learn technology and to help elevate the services that we provide for our clients. So please, as I talk through this, my goal is to provide some insight and knowledge, but I hope this is taken as a call to action to learn about the technology and make sure your clients understand it as well. So with that passionate speech, gosh, I didn't know I was going to do that so passionately on a Saturday evening here in New York. But this is the agenda that I had in mind. Basically what I want to do is just give a preview and some examples of the technologies that are out there. I hope by the end of this, all of you get really excited to learn more about the different types of tech that you can get your hands on. And I definitely encourage CPAs and even non-CPAs to use the extra time that you have. So you may not be commuting anymore because of the work from home situation, but use that extra time to learn and do some Google research, take some online courses related to automation, because this is a great time to do it. And looks like the industry is diving in towards that way anyway. So I think we should just be prepared for that. So before I go any further, and before everyone starts asking, who is this guy that showed up, and who's this good-looking young guy, and I'm not so young, by the way, that's presenting accounting technology. I know I'm new to this community, and not too many people know me, so I wanted to just quickly introduce my company, Gappify, and also my personal background. I'll go through this really quick because I want to keep an eye out for time. So Gappify, we're a bot company. So our bot, we named him Alan, sits on top of different accounting systems. And once he's a user in your accounting system, then he can do work that junior accountants can do automatically. So most of our companies today, our customers today, are kind of mid-level to enterprise companies. So we don't have any QuickBooks customers or Xero customers. They usually start with NetSuite and have Oracle and SAP. But they add Alan as a user, and then he can go around and just start doing vendor onboarding or preparing accruals and preparing fixed asset schedules. So his job is to do things automatically. And we want accountants to be the ones to configure that technology and also be the ones to do the analytical and the review work related to the data that Alan is processing. So we have some great investors at our company because, again, the whole topic of automation is so exciting and important to the market. So Morgan Stanley is our biggest investor right now. The AI CPA is actually also an investor of our company as well. So I've been very fortunate to work with their leaders to form the messaging around technology. So technology is not gonna take our jobs away if we get in front of it and be the ones to control it. We don't want IT to be the ones controlling accounting technology. We accountants, CPAs, should be the ones learning how to do it because we understand the business process more than IT does. So with that type of vision, we're really, really proud to be, it's already been mentioned a few times already. I am super proud to be an accountant. I am really, really proud that, half of our investors are, CPAs, just like you guys and myself. And we see this as an exciting time to really grow as a profession. So I'll quickly pause there for some quick questions and take a look at the chat room. Looks like nothing right now, but feel free to chat with any questions that you have. Just really quickly, these are some of the customers that we have. So we have some, progressive tech companies that are looking to support their operations, accounting operations with bots, Dropbox, Twilio, RingCentral. We have some great customers that support us. One thing I'm really proud of, we actually built the bot in the Philippines. So we have a team in Makati, in Manila, and Alan was born in the Philippines. So all the coding, all of the design, Bradford, I see your question there. Can we see Gappify in action? We'll have to spin up a demo so I can definitely do that for you offline. But yeah, just to finish my point, I'm really proud that we're building this new wave of technology from the Philippines because, I'm from there as well. I was born there, even though I grew up in the States. My family immigrated to the US when I was just 8 years old. But I go to the Philippines every 3 or 4 months before COVID, of course. And really lucky to stay in touch with my culture. Whenever I'm there, you'll find me at the nearest Mang Inasal, which is my favorite place to eat. The chicken there is just out of this world. You can't find chicken like that here in the US. I guarantee that.
Jotham, can I ask a question?
Yeah, it's very tasty, very tasty. Yeah.
I'm glad there's some kinds of Mang Inasal there.
Jotham.
Yes.
So here, the technology. I think you're right. You're on the proper right time. Bullseye on what you are doing right now, and I am also very grateful that you are giving jobs to our to our brothers and compatriots in the Philippines. I'm very grateful on that. So my question is, in the latest study, well, of course, technology helps company to be profitable, to achieve their goals. However, there's a trend at the background that technology creates a lot of stress. They call it in the academic world as techno stress, like implementation of Oracle, implementation of SAP. For example, accountants. Uh, Accountants are also very much like there is a paper on that rigorous empirical study that, of course, you and I, all accountants who have been in this in the industry, whether in the accounting firm or in the private industry, that our job is one of the most stressful and most highly demanding job, and accountants are affected by this implementation techno stress. That's why it contributes to the mental health issue nowadays, because nowadays mental health issue is really high. Especially during COVID, it's even spiking sharply. So now, in your case, as you are like, the way I see, I do not know yet the exact background of Gappify, but the way I see it, you are like in doing interfacing between technologies of accounting applications, if I'm not mistaken. So my question is, are you doing also other things on the background, let's say, to implement your system, doing or considering how it affects the workers? Because, like, for example, one of the worries of accountants, you're right, that accountants should be able to adapt these new technologies, because, yeah, this the jargon right now. If there is a good software, good technology, do I need a brain? So that's the rule of thumb. Now, are you also doing something on the background in promoting your service to your clients on the like human aspects of things? That's my question.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a really good question, right? Because as automation does more of the mechanical work, the people that used to do it before, like, still has to feel motivated and be part of the team. So there are a couple things that are happening there. One is automation allows, like, the accountants, at least that we work with, and this is mid-sized to large-sized companies. Those types of accounts have month-end close, right? They have to work weekends, they have to work nights because they have so much spreadsheet work to do. So from a workload perspective, we're actually helping them manage that better. So they don't have to stay the weekend on July 4th. And I used to be the person that had to ask people to stay July 4th because it was quarter end close and we needed to close the books. But because of Alan, he can do that automatically on his own. So number one, it reduces that crunch time that accountants used to stress about so much. The second is we have our clients control our bot. So our clients and CPAs are learning new skills. So they have to think about the process now. Before, accountants would just take a look at their document and process it in the system. Now they have to know how that document and the numbers flow through the financial statements. And so there's really some excitement because people are learning new skills and not like forced to just do repetitive Excel work, which, especially as you talk to the newer and younger group of accountants that are joining the profession, they don't want to do spreadsheets. They want to meet with marketing and collaborate with them and figure out how their marketing events are going to impact the financial statements. And I want to recognize the question from Roland here too, because it's important. So what's the difference between outsourcing business versus our automation? So there are some automation solutions in the market out there. I'll talk about one specifically. It's called Scale Factor. And some of you may have heard about them because they are no longer in business. And they had an operations in the Philippines, but they were presenting their bookkeeping service as AI and automation. But what was really happening was there were CPAs in Manila that was processing it behind the scenes. So That to me would be more of an outsourced business, Roland. What we do is fully automatic. So it has logic. So our bot Alan will say, okay, you have a new vendor in a new supplier in your accounting system. I don't have a Form W-9, and a Form W-9 is specific to the US. So our bot will go out and seek the W-9 and put it back in the system. So it's done by rules and logic, not by people. So that's the biggest difference between outsourced business and our automation.
Good, good, good. Yeah. Thank you, thank you.
And Roland, your other question there about auditing automation, I have some examples there later on, so I'll be sure to cover that. Just a really quick point here. So there are, three, I love accounting because there's so many disciplines. I just wanted to make sure, because as I'm talking about this, I fit in this third category. So I'm in the private side in corporate accounting. So my understanding of the small business accounting and, the QuickBooks and Xero is not as high as, the Oracles and the SAP. So I just wanted to make sure you guys knew, where my experiences are coming from. Personal tax is a whole nother CPA specialty that is just like rich with automation opportunity that I don't know much about. In fact, because I'm so busy running my company, I have a CPA, even though I'm a CPA myself, do that because I'm not up to speed with, the Trump tax cuts. And so, I mean, you guys know this as CPAs, there are, so many different areas within it. I just wanted to let you guys know that, I'm more in the corporate side. So I won't be referring to the points above as much, but if you have any questions, I can definitely try to answer them. Okay, so what was happening, and this is pre-COVID, and again, this is more on the corporate side. So there was a lot of things that were already brewing up in CPA and accounting requirements, especially when you talk to big companies. All of these companies and their CFOs and their chief operating officers and chief marketing officers want more data and they want more insight. So where does that data and insight come from? It comes from us in accounting. So it was already putting a lot of pressure on us. Also, there's new business models, right? So before, when you sold a couch, right, if you're a company that sold furniture, all you did was sell furniture. Now you sell them as leases, and now sometimes it's a lease to purchase. There are so many different ways to sell something. And guess what? When there's new ways of selling something, guess who has to figure it out? Us CPAs again. And then of course, globalization. So before, companies used to just focus on their current markets, but now you have companies that are regularly selling around the world. So guess who has to figure all that out? It's us CPAs and us accountants. So from an impact perspective, as in accounting, we not only have to deal with more data requirements, so different types of ways of breaking down revenue, for example, but there's also more of it because of concepts like big data. I know Greg touched on it earlier. Machine learning is also driven by big data, so we have to now process more data. There's more reporting requirements, especially as companies go in different parts of the world. You have to file SEC requirements in one. Actually, my company is a good example of this. So I have to file income taxes in the US. We have to deal with the BIR in the Philippines. And yeah, as a side comment, I'm sure this is probably a whole nother webinar in itself. Dealing with the BIR is not as easy as I thought when we first started doing business in the Philippines. And I see a chuckle from Roland there.
I think you're right there.
Only
Well,
I had known.
well, it's whom you know.
Yeah.
All right.
So
Yeah.
Are we saying we have to throw our marketing team that way instead of our accounting team?
Well, we can talk about it later. All right, no problem.
Oh,
It's whom you know. Okay.
we'll leave it at that.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, the good news is Picpa International is global. Okay, we have connections. Thank you.
Yes, yeah, and
All right.
That is great.
global is important. It's very modern with how businesses work, and it should be how CPA organizations like Picpa supports its constituents.
Of course. Yeah.
Oh, I see Greg. Oh my gosh. Yeah, thanks for that tip, Greg. Come to Qatar. We don't have taxes here. Yeah, I might have to move out there after this call. So with COVID-19, the slide before was what was already happening, but there's more that's happening now. It's actually the burden is becoming heavier. So on the data reporting requirement side, for some it hasn't really changed, but for those that are fighting to survive, they're having to figure out like their cash flow statements, and they're trying to get that statement much more quickly than at the end of every month or every quarter. So again, you'll know my rhetorical questions now. Like, guess who has to provide those weekly reports now to the CFO? Like we do, on top of everything else that we're already doing. And guess what? As these businesses start coming back online, here in New York, some restaurants a lot of restaurants are reopening again. The gyms finally reopen on Tuesdays, so I can work out all the longanisa and the tocino I've been eating and run that off. But even as businesses are reopening, they are not hiring CPAs first. They're gonna go and hire salespeople because they want to regenerate that demand. So the volume of work is increasing, but the number of CPAs to support that work is not increasing. So where are companies looking to make up that difference? It's automation and technology. And so before we talk about the different types of technology out there, so I always like going back in time and just showing how it was like about 20 years ago when I first started in the profession. I used to audit Contra Costa County in the Bay Area, for those that are in the San Francisco area. So I remember my first audit, I had to look at the documentation through what's called a microfiche. I don't know if anyone is familiar with that, but that's when you look at all your transaction data in a very small like film strip.
Right?
Yeah,
That's an old school.
yeah, and I guess that's when I get paged by my audit manager to hurry up with something. It feels like it was a long time ago, but I guess not really all that far away. But that was the day of binders, hole punchers, a lot of manual paperwork. The accounting systems that some of you who were, and actually there's still a lot of companies, frankly, that still run on AS400 and black screen systems, like on the right hand side. But I remember one of our first clients when I started my accounting practice in 2003 was Dole, and this is how it looked like. It was like a black screen, and the traits of these systems, it's very hard to change.
All right, yeah. We used to have that too.
And
Tax collector San Francisco. Yeah.
They may still have it. Who knows? There's still some companies that use that, Roland. So
Yeah, until now, yes, I agree.
Yeah, because change is very onerous undertaking.
Not only that, that's very expensive, but they already they have invested a lot of money on that. They cannot just change that and throw that. No.
Exactly.
It's really hard.
Costs too much. And historically, we accountants don't like change, right? And that's a stereotype that we have. But I know because most of my friends are in accounting. Like, we don't like change. It's actually one of the core principles of accounting, like consistency, right?
Right.
Change is tough, and it's just embedded in our DNA. But guess what? If you can't change something, we need to do that work somewhere else. And this is where we started developing our love, or some would say addiction, to spreadsheets. Like, spreadsheets are great because you can use them as a list. You can do some calculations. There's a lot of different things that you can do with it. But this is still, like, in today's standards, like largely manual and not automated. It's better than, writing something down on paper.
Right.
But let me tell you, like, spreadsheets is the biggest gate and the biggest obstacle that accountants will have to accepting the new wave of technology that's coming. So, I'm speaking here to plead with my fellow CPAs here to consider letting go of their spreadsheets and seeking other automation alternatives. I know it's important and there's a transition period, but for the sake of our profession and our clients, like, we need to upgrade to better and more modern solutions. So I'll quickly pause there. If you guys have any favorite Excel formulas and want to chat about it, it might be a good time to just be more active with the audience here. Let's see who says VLOOKUP first, because I know it's kind of like we were born, we came out of our mother's wombs with VLOOKUP formulas already written in our foreheads.
Okay, Jotham.
Yes, Roland.
Yeah. If you have been auditing bank, especially a big commercial that has, guess what, more than 200 branches. You used to be working for, I even started with a paper worksheet, preparing a so-called combined income statement and balance sheet. You know what I'm saying? And then it became...
That's our idol, that's our age, not good.
Right. But then it became Excel, it became Excel, all right? So now, are you saying that Excel is still outmoded now under your program or project?
Yeah, and I'll talk about, Roland, some of the solutions that are taking...
Good. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, well, no, it's great to know that background. I can't even imagine how to consolidate financial statements without Excel. How did you guys do it?
Well, you know, that's where that's where love for numbers comes in. If there was no such software yet before during those times, actually, I don't want to emphasize that because I'm emphasizing my age. All right.
That's what I would like to say. I don't.
Yeah, but you see, I am very happy to say that I am really old, but I am adapting to the new school. See, we should always adapt as accountants. All right. We should always adapt.
Roland,
right. The word adapt is, remember, it starts again with letter A. All right, letter A. Okay, go ahead. Jotham, please. Thank you.
I want to throw a letter D in there too. So as you adapt and let other new technology help you do your work faster, you can do more of D, which is dance, Roland. And that's what...
Right. Well,
I like it. I like it.
Yeah, letter D is actually Ditan, all right? So
yes, eh?
I saw a comment come in from the chat. So Excel Power Query function. I can't say I know that one, so it sounds like it's hardcore, but I love it. I only get up to VLOOKUPs. Oh, index and match. I knew those would come in. We have some really Excel savvy folks in this audience, and you guys will be surprised actually. Like a lot of the functions that you're describing now in the chat is what we actually built into our bot. So you'll be able to understand how it works. It's if then, it's index match. So for those that are commenting now that they're using these expressions and formulas, you're gonna learn automation and the new wave like so much more quickly.
So meaning you develop your own function, Jotham, to extract data from Oracle or SAP?
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Program is the VLOOKUP from the data that it pulls from Oracle or SAP or NetSuite.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you go directory database.
We're creating a database within our own platform, so we're pulling like vendor record, invoice information. Alan is just running the VLOOKUP that we would do as accountants, and the pivots too that Ray mentioned. I love pivot tables. I love nice reports in different categories, Ray. So I'm a huge fan of that. Yeah, sorry, was there a question there? Okay, so I'll go through SaaS because we can't ignore that before we talk about bots. But in 2010, like the last decade was really about cloud, right? And yes, Manny, it's software as a service. And sometimes because I'm from Silicon Valley, I forget to spell that out. But instead of the black screen systems that are installed in your computer with a CD, this is something you can just access in a browser. Now, so today, Zero is a good example of that. QuickBooks now has most of the QuickBooks, I think, now are in QuickBooks Online, not the installed version. But one of the traits for these systems is that a lot of them are process specific, right? So they can get you further, they can do more work from a spreadsheet. It's easier to change, so you can do configuration changes. If you're using something like Expensify for expense report, you can configure different rules. They can talk to different systems, so it really help the accounting profession have more tools in their hands to do different types of work. One thing that's still very specific about SAS is it requires a human to log in and to use it, right? So we work in SAS applications, so we have to log into Picpa or Avalara, or I'll talk about these examples here in a minute. So on the corporate side, in the private, in the industry side, these are some of the top SaaS, software as a service, or cloud companies in the market. Flowcast is close management. So when we do month-end closes, and when I was doing month-end closes, it was an Excel spreadsheet. Hey, senior accountant, are you done with your recons? Hey, accounting manager, are you done with allowance for doubtful accounts? But Flowcast has now a cloud platform where you can have that list all in one central place, and you can collaborate with your team. Blackline for reconciliations for those that are on the corporate side. That depending on your organization, some organizations have thousands of GL accounts. So Blackline automates a lot of that work. NetSuite's, of course, an ERP system. Avalara does sales tax and use tax calculations. And then Audit Board for SOX, which is my background, is a great tool for managing your compliance and your SOX 404 certification process. Okay, but despite all of these tools, they're so amazing, they're so great, we're still doing a lot of low value work. And talking to the people here today and just hearing the presentations, like I know we have much more skills that we can tap into as CPAs than just like doing manual Excel calculations or asking people for different data or emailing vendors and customers. A lot of us CPAs are still doing this. In fact, McKinsey, which is one of the top research firms or top management consulting firms in the country here in the US, 89% of the work that we do is still highly automatable, even though we have all these amazing solutions and tools. When you talk about what we CPAs do, like SEC or IFRS reporting, it's 72%. And this is what I saw as, I was doing my consulting practice. We only started Gappify, our product, in 2015, but it just really bugged me how talented and very skilled CPAs, like all of us here on this call, we're stuck just doing emails and spreadsheets. Like we have so much more to contribute. And so this is where we think, and a lot of industry leaders in accounting are, putting their bets on for getting that, taking care of this 89 to 72%. It's bots, it's AI, and it's coming. This is not like a tomorrow thing. This is a today thing. So I can name so many customers that are already like outside of our customer base that are implementing bots, and their CFOs are saying, hey, no more like hiring people before we first look at bots because they can do so much more. And the pandemic and COVID-19 is even expanding this faster. And I mentioned the example earlier. One of our customers said, I'm not hiring, I can't. Our CFO says, I just need to look at automation. I can't add another CPA to my team. We had another customer during COVID, they're about to go IPO, but they had to let go 20% of their staff. I think it was about like 300 people. And they can't hire the accounting staff back. So they're talking to us because they want to automate a lot of that work. And so, one thing, by the way, as we look at some examples of AI and bots, the easiest definition I have for what a AI or bots are is it's a program controlling other programs, right? So it's not just a system that you log into and you do work in. It's like another user that you add on top of another accounting system. And when you have that digital worker or digital employee in QuickBooks or SAP, bots do other things that kind of replicate the actions and the steps and the work steps that we CPAs do. Now, some of the bots like do processing work, so invoice vouchering or encoding. Some actually help CFOs make smarter decisions than CFOs make themselves. So there's a lot of different flavors. I think the point I want to make sure is clear here is that the term AI and bots, it's still very new, it's still very general, but it has a lot of different meanings. So it's not like a one size fits all approach. It's a lot of different disciplines, and I'm gonna try to break it up in a minute here. But I'll take a quick sip of my tea here in case anyone has any questions before we move on. Okay, so I'm gonna give you some examples, and I said earlier, I just want to give a preview for everyone. There's definitely no way for us to cover all of these different tools and solutions and technologies in the short time that we have. I really hope this just gets everyone's brains and juices going so they can do more research on their own after. I hope this is interesting enough for people to want to learn more, because there's so much more to learn. And again, if we are proactive about welcoming this technology and applying it for our clients, I think it's just going to make us so much more valuable to these clients. So I'll go through these quickly. I'm going to be more of an expert in some than others, but if anyone has any questions, feel free to drop it in the chat. But the most popular bots in today's market is what's called robotics process automation, otherwise known as RPA. I was actually really pleased at my last trip in Manila. This is before COVID, so it's February. The digital transformation initiatives were already being, I was speaking to some of the larger companies there, they're already looking at this. So UiPath is the most popular one. They are originally founded from Romania in Europe. Now they're headquartered in New York City, but they have grown explosively in the last few years because larger companies use their tool to automate. I'll give some examples in a bit, but just to cover the other guys here, Blue Prism is also robotics process automation based out of the UK, and then Automation Anywhere is actually based in San Jose. But what's getting popular is what's called screen scraping. Has anyone heard of the concept of screen scraping? And I know it's a newer term. Yeah.
First time.
So screen scraping is when it's like recording a macro. Are people familiar with Excel macros?
Yeah.
So imagine the Excel macro running in your whole laptop, not just Excel, right? So you're recording a bot, like click into your browser, typing facebook.com on the address bar, then moving the cursor to the login and saying, Jotham Ty at gmail.com, and then typing your stuff and then recording and repeating it over and over again. So that's what screen scraping means, and that's what robotics process automation is most known for. It's really good for encoding, right? Because their bots can open an email, get some information from a document, and then enter it into QuickBooks or another system, and it just repeats it and repeats it in your desktop based on some rules. There's also something called OCR, and OCR has been around for a long time. It stands for optical character recognition, but it's technology that reads like a document, a PDF document or a JPEG, and it just takes out the characters and says if Jotham's applying for a mortgage, the OCR technology would read my name, my date of birth, how good looking I am, and any other information that I put on my mortgage application. So, mostly